Hi everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to set up a file to make a set of coasters. I'm specifically doing Cricut's round ceramic coasters today. So we're going to start with a blank canvas. And the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to add a shape, and we're going to add a circle. The Cricut coasters are 3.5 inches across, but I like to make my actual cutouts for my infusible ink just a tiny bit bigger. So I will go with 3.6 inches for the size. Make sure that stays locked. And then I usually, in order to save my material, I tend to duplicate them. I'm going to do 4, right? So I'm going to duplicate this times 3 to start. I'm not quite lined up. I'm going to select all 3 of these. I'm going to go to alignment. I'm going to align them top and then distribute them vertically. Okay, now I'm going to duplicate just one so that I can scoot it down here. I'm going to use up pretty much the same thing, the same amount, whether if I do 4 or 5. So I'm going to go ahead and do 5. And because the sheet that I'm cutting out has a print on it, that will also let me pick 4 of the best out of the group. Okay, I'm going to line these on the bottom this time. Now I'm going to take this whole set of 5. I'm going to make sure they're all selected. I'm going to go attach. Now, because I want these to cut all the way through when I do my infusible ink sheet, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this design one more time, select everything, align it to center, and attach again. Now, what that's going to do is that's going to cause it to cut them twice, so that should cut all the way through the ink sheet and the backing. Now, remember that infusible ink is going to go with the shiny liner part of the page down on your mat, so your printed side is facing you. Remember that you have to mirror this, because when you're done, you're going to flip this over just like you would any other iron-on. So if your pattern has a direction, you want to make sure it's facing the right way. Okay, now I'm going to go up and save this. I'm going to save this as ceramic coaster setup set. And then from here, I would just go to make it. I would get my infusible ink sheet on my Cricut mat for cutting, and I would cut them out. Also, I can see when I go to make it, I'll show you. I'm going to make it on a mat. It's only going to use about 7 inches out of this sheet. So what I will do is I will cut my sheet down to about 7.5 just to ensure that I got plenty of room. And then that way I'm not wasting any more or touching it, because you really shouldn't touch your infusible ink any more than you absolutely have to. And make sure your hands are very clean, no lotion. So I'm going to continue on with this, and when we come back, I'll have them cut out and ready to show you the rest. Okay, we're back, and I have cut out my sheet. These are the coasters we're going to be working with. This is the infusible ink that I plan to work with. I just love this black and white pattern. When you get your infusible ink, it'll come in a black tube like this. You want to make sure you always put it back in the tube when you're done, any excess that you might have had, and put it back in the box. That will help protect it so that you will be able to use whatever you have left later. You also get a sheet of butcher paper in your box that you'll use to protect your surface and what you're working on. Now, normally when I'm weeding something like this, I leave it on my mat to make it easier to weed. But infusible ink, that's different. So what I do when I'm peeling something off is I flip my mat upside down, and I kind of bend it away from my project like that. And then I peel it off, and that'll help keep it from curling your project. This, however, is going to be curled because it was rolled up inside of a box. But ordinarily with your cardstock or whatever other thing you're using, it will help keep it from rolling up on you. Now, infusible ink is different. When you are weeding infusible ink, what you want to do is you want to roll it to kind of break loose the seam. And then you're just going to start somewhere. In my case, I can feel my coasters over here. And you just want to grab a piece and break it apart. Now, the idea behind rolling it is it'll help break any little connection there might be with your edges. And you can see I cut this on my Explorer 5 and it did an amazing job. Now you could save these in a little baggie and use little bits and pieces of them later for some other project. I won't be doing that with these though. Okay, now as you can see, now we have our 5 coasters. And I just want to show you, let me see. I just want to show you how I made my project just a little bit bigger than it needed to be. I like to have a little bit of overlap just so that I can be ensured that I don't end up with anything that didn't quite get covered. I can tell you this, Cricut does not scrimp on its packaging when it comes to these coasters. They do not want them to arrive broken. Okay, there we go. Okay, so when you get your coasters, they'll look like this. You'll see shiny on both sides. But between each one of these coasters, you're going to find these little pieces of paper. Throw these away, whatever you do. Don't use these for pressing. They're just there to protect the surface of your coaster so that they don't get all marred up in shipping. Okay. Now I'm just going to show you. So this here is your coaster, and then your printout will go just like this. And then you want to make sure you tape this down really well. But see how mine is just ever so slightly bigger than my coaster? So I will be using that to my benefit so that I don't end up with any white edges, because these coasters have an ever so slight bevel on the edge. So I will come back after I've got these all set up, and I'll take you to the press and we'll press them together. Okay, we are back and we're getting ready to press these coasters. I need to set up the press. So I'm going to push this button here to change the temperature. We are going to go to 400 degrees. Press it again to set it. And then for the time, we need 240 seconds. Oh, one too many. And then for the pressure on the ceramic coasters, we need 220 pounds. So we are good to go. Now, while that is getting the rest of the way up to temperature, I can go ahead and set up my project. Now, you should use cardstock underneath your coasters. And I'm going to want to aim this for as close to the middle as I can get, just because that's where you're going to get the most even pressure. And then I have my coasters all set up. My infusible ink is on the face of the coaster. And we are going to set them face down. And I want to make sure that they don't overhang my paper at all, because if they do, it's possible that some of this ink could end up on my on my press mat, and that would be bad. Okay, now once we have those lined up, then we're going to want to put our butcher paper on top. And we're almost at temp, so we just need to wait a few more seconds for that to get all the way up, and then I will close it up and we'll get it started. I do really love how this tray slides out all the way so that I can access my project without getting my hands under the heat plate. And also, my press is just short of 400 degrees, and this up here is all nice and cool. I can just kind of feel the heat on the sides. but the top and all of this area is completely cool to touch. Okay, we're up to temp now. So I'm going to slide my tray back all the way in, and I'm just going to look and make sure that my butcher paper didn't move. And then I'm going to press this button right here to start the process. I'm not going to make you guys sit through the whole thing. I will come back just before it finishes. Okay, we have just under 10 seconds left. Now when this opens up, you need to let these coasters completely cool before you try to take the ink sheets off. So what I'm going to do is take one of my easy press mats. I'm going to take my cover sheet off. And then I'm going to ever so carefully slide these right on over to an easy press mat to cool. Then I'm going to close this and turn it off, and I will see you back at my desk. Okay, we're back, and these are completely cooled, so I will remove my mat now. And now we can start taking off the tape and see what we have. I may need tweezers for that. Sometimes this tape peels off real easy, and other times it just sticks really well. There's the first one. Now see what I mean about how the edge, by making my print just a tiny bit bigger, it kind of rolled over that edge just a tiny bit, so we don't have any white showing. Now I usually save those little pieces of paper that were between these, and I use them between them again when I package them up if I'm going to give them as a gift. That'll help make sure they don't get scratched. And you can also get cork that's already in a round shape on Amazon that has adhesive already on it, like double stick tape, that you can stick to the backs of these. Same thing, you can kind of see how my print went just over the edge. Oh, missed a piece. There is just something so satisfying about doing these ceramic coasters with infusible ink. They always, always come out so nice. And there's our third one. The same thing, you can see how it just went over the edge. And our last one. Well, this tape's super stuck this time. And you will notice that your butcher paper and your cardstock that you put underneath is very likely going to have some yellowing on it where it looks like it kind of scorched. That's pretty normal. I don't have that happen often, but when I'm doing coasters, because they're in there for so long, it's almost always something that happens. Okay, there we go. Okay, there you go. There's all four. Aren't they gorgeous? I hope you enjoyed the project, and I hope you can make use of my setup file to do your own, and happy crafting!